KY Presidents. Welcome to this President session of Virtual KLC 2020. We're really excited to have all of you joining us today for this session. We're sorry that we couldn't be with you this summer at KY Leadership Camp, but we're real excited that we have a lot of you that weren't able to come to camp, perhaps, that are going to benefit from this awesome session that we have. If you notice when you logged on today, there is some information that is available, a handout for you. There are 34 pages of information. And I would ask that you download that. And if you don't have that to look at as we go through this session, you might want to pause the video and go back and get that, because we think that will be extremely helpful for you as we go through this important session. We're going to do some introductions now of the four of us that are leading this session today. And we'll start with Ashley.
Hello, my name is Ashley Boyd. I am a junior at Emporia State University. I am majoring in elementary education with a minor in counseling services. This is my third year on staff. I went to Santa Fe Trail High School, where I was the president for my KY club for 3 years. And the best thing about me being president that I remembered from my high school was just being the inspiration and motivation that the members needed in the club, and to really see the passion for KY spread.
And I'm Luke Bryan. I'm a 6th grade teacher at Mission Valley Elementary School. I grew up in the El Dorado area where I was president and vice president for a few years. One of my favorite things about being a president was the fact that I got to be behind the scenes and see all the different moving parts in all the different committees throughout the year that I was president.
Hi, my name is Kelly Garcia. I'm the Chief Development Officer at a nonprofit organization called DECA. I live in Edmond, Oklahoma currently, but I was a KAY President, Vice President, Point Director, and Secretary at Derby High School. This is my 25th year on staff. When I was the president, one of the best things was getting to lead and organize the meetings.
And my name is Cheryl Gleason. I'm the KY State Director. I also work at the Kansas State High School Activities Association. I live in Topeka, Kansas. I am formerly from Columbus, where I was a member of the KF Club and served as the president and vice president of our club. The best thing about being president, first of all, it was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me when I was in high school. But the best thing was the opportunity to empower others to be who I knew they were capable of being, to help them on the road to leadership and service, and to do the great things that we all wanted to do. So it was a true pleasure for me, just like it was for Kelly, Luke, and Ashley. I love the statement on this page. Before you are a leader, success is about growing yourself. And we all went through that. And you will as well. And when you become a leader, success is then about growing others. And that's the exciting opportunity you're going to have as the president of your KY club this next year. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what KY is. I think many of you, I hope many of you know that this organization stands for the Kansas Association for Youth. It is a character building, leadership training service organization sponsored by the Kansas State High School Activities Association. This organization started in 1946 as a way for students to learn citizenship responsibility, to see the value of applying themselves and making a difference in the world around them. When this organization started in 1946, the students are the ones that came up with all of the guts, if you will, of the organization. The students decided we needed to have objectives and privileges and a pledge. Colors are blue and gold, that there should be a motto and a slogan. And all of these things, again, were written by those students. We continue to evaluate our current membership to see if these things still apply and they still believe in them today, 74 years later. So that's a little bit of the history. The neat thing about the KY program is that any boy or any girl in a member school in Kansas in grades 6 through 12 can be a member of the KAY program. And that's very, very special because it gives those students an opportunity to belong and again, to make a difference in the lives of those around them. A couple of years ago, we asked the membership, students and the sponsors, let's have some belief statements and a mission statement about what the KAY program is. Some of this was also to share with our school administrators who did not have KAY programs in their school, to try to give them some information. And as a result of this, I think our membership has grown because of a better understanding of the KAY program. You can see very simply the mission statement is the KAY program empowers Kansas students with lifetime leadership skills and an attitude of service to others. There are many belief statements, and again, we received input from students and sponsors across the state. They all mean something very different and important. I particularly like the KAY allows students to develop lifetime leadership skills. That's a tremendously strong statement. Doesn't make it the best, but it is one of many strong statements in this. Participation in KAY contributes to school spirit and pride. And then certainly another one is service to others benefits both the receiver and the giver. You as presidents are going to find out, if you don't already know, that when you give, you receive. And this organization is all about that, and then much, much more. I'm going to turn this now over to Luke so he can talk about leadership and the president.
So one of the first things that you guys need to understand as the president of your club is some of the responsibilities that you have. If you're not sure where to find those, you can find those in your handbook, but you can also find them on the handout that Gleason was mentioning earlier. So there's 5 areas to focus on. And so if you start on page 6, it talks about the responsibilities of the president. The first one is to preside over all the meetings. So you are the leader of the club. So therefore you need to be at all these meetings and be active in them, even if you're not the leader of that particular committee. Another thing that you need to think about is that it is your responsibility to appoint those committees. So throughout the year, you'll have different events. Those events don't just happen. It's your job to make sure that you have the most successful team in order for that event or activity to be successful. Another thing that you will do is you'll act as an ex officio member, which means that you may not be able to vote on something, but you're going to have some input, and you're also going to be a part of that, whether that's behind the scenes or an active person engaging in that activity. Also, you'll schedule meetings, so you'll need to frequently meet with your sponsor. We suggest every other week at a minimum, but if you can do something more frequently, like perhaps being in their seminar or their study hall, or meeting with them on a regular basis before or after school, that's going to make your communication that much more effective with them. And then additionally, you're going to need to meet with your board members. And then the last thing that we talk about is the roles of your responsibility. And the biggest thing that I think of these 5 things is probably the communication piece. It's crucial that you are communicating with your board members and your sponsor and your club so that you guys can be successful as a whole unit. So even as individuals of the group or the entire board, or just you and your sponsor, make sure that you're keeping in touch with others so that they know what their job is or what their purpose is in your KAY club. If you're curious what the responsibilities are for those other board members, those can be found right there on page 6, going through page 8. So it lists, for example, your vice president, your points director, director of music, if you have those. Now, you don't necessarily have to fill all these roles, or you could double up. One person can do 2 roles in some of these responsibilities. But by all means, check out page 6 through 8 on the handout, and it has a list of what those responsibilities are for the other board members. Next, Ashley is going to talk to you about some common sense.
So I'm going to talk about some common sense leadership. So if you join me on page 9 of your handout, we're going to start with a leader is. So a leader is adaptive. Leaders bring a sense of flexibility into their plans to allow for unexpected obstacles. So things happen in your club, things happen in the school, and as a leader, you need to roll with those things and adapt your plans to better fit the situation that you were handed. So the better adapt you are, the better adapt your club will be, and they will follow your lead. So that is one thing I'm going to highlight. All of these are very important in the leader is section, but I also want to highlight another one, which is optimistic. So leaders view each day as full as challenges to conquer and opportunities to learn and grow from as a leader. Optimism is contagious, and it starts with you. So be the sunshine and find the positive and be optimistic in every situation, and your club will follow. So we're going to go to the next section that says a leader leads by. Once again, all of these are really important. I'm going to highlight a few, one of which being turning adversity into opportunity. So this goes right along with being a good leader, being optimistic. When a leader is handed a lemon, they make lemonade. So this means that they're taking a situation and they're turning it into a beneficial opportunity. So we're going to go to the last section, which is a leader avoids. And a leader avoids criticism of others. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And as a leader, you need to see those strengths and focus on those. Nobody likes to be criticized. No one likes their weaknesses to be pointed out. So everyone has a strong point. And as a leader, it is your job to recognize those and validate them within your members and board members. A leader also avoids blaming others. So a good leader takes responsibility. And when in a position of leadership, everything that occurs is your responsibility, including the errors. So avoid blaming others. Instead, take the blame, learn from it, and then go ahead and grow as a leader. So now we talked about some common sense leadership, we're going to switch gears and start talking about delegation. So delegation is a great tool for you to have, especially in your club. So why don't people delegate? So let's start there. A lot of times people don't delegate because it's hard to let go, and that is true. From speaking from experience, I struggled delegating a lot when I was president in high school. I did not want to let go. I wanted to just do it myself, and I just thought that I could get it done quicker, and I didn't want to let go. But as president, one of your duties is to trust your members and to mold them to be the leaders they need to be. And they can't do that unless you help them and you trust them. So trust your club and delegate. So delegating puts less stress on you as a president, and it also gets more people involved. So people support what they help create. The more that you get your members involved, the more that they will support the club and be active within it. So delegate. It's so important. So go and do it. Delegate.
Thanks, Ashley. I was excited, just like Kelly and Luke and Ashley, when I found out that I was going to be the president of our KAY club. I remember the day vividly, and I was so excited, but oh my gosh, I was scared to death. I had all of these questions running through my mind. What's the first thing I do? Where do I start? What do I do? When do I do it? Those questions and many, many others were just flooding my mind. And so we want to try to help you answer those same kinds of questions. So we're going to start with this particular slide. The first thing you need to do as soon as you get done watching this session, if you haven't already done that, is have a meeting with your sponsor. Call your sponsor, get a hold of them as soon as possible. Share information that you heard on this particular presentation with your sponsor. Show them the handout that you're looking at as you go through this. Then sit down with them and your calendars and pick a date for that first important August board meeting. Kelly's going to talk about that in just a few minutes when she talks about the seasons of service. And there's an agenda in this handout for that meeting. But set a date so that you can contact all of your officers and board members and get them on board so that they can attend. Another thing on your checklist is going to be to make sure you let the High School Activities Association know that your school is going to have a KAY program this fall. Visit with your sponsor, and they need to visit with the school activities director to find Form KAY1. This form needs to be filled out and sent to our office in Topeka, hopefully by the 20th of August. This will let Lindsay, my assistant, and I know that your school is having KAY, and we will make sure you're in all of the communications that are sent out to KAY clubs throughout the course of the year. It will also give us information on the president's name and also contact information so that we can reach out and email you and share emails of other presidents throughout the course of the time that we have as well. Also, it's very, very important to set dates for your meeting. Leigh is going to talk more about that in her session in a few moments. And then lastly, in this section, it's important to know that the handbook that you all have has very important information regarding 3 forms that give you deadlines for registration and deadlines for when reports are due. These are located in the handout that you have, but they're also located in the KAY handbook that we'll talk about later in this session as well. You can see when everything is due in the form on the left. You can see in the form on the right that these are regular mailings or emails that will be coming to your sponsor's attention. If you want information about the regional conference and it's the end of September, something's wrong, because we will send that out on the September 15th. So again, it keeps us on our toes, but it also lets you know that you may need to look for those items. And then another important list that you'll find in section 10 in your handbook is simply a checklist to help you. There are defined things that are going on. You can see down here, as Kelly will mention in a few moments, it will tell you when your membership goal sheet and membership dues are due, and when Citizenship Week is, and so on and so forth. So some very helpful information on that particular form. The next thing you need to think about is that important officer board member workshop. And that full agenda, Kelly will again discuss, is on page 23 in your handout. One important thing that I would recommend that you do is provide materials for all of your officers and board members. We want them to have success, and we need to help them do so. So give them a folder, give them a notebook, whatever you choose to do, and consider putting in the yearly calendar, perhaps the school calendar of an event, contact information for everyone, what's the best mode of contact for people, what is your attendance policy for your board, what are the expectations for board members as far as attending meetings and participating in activities. Make sure, as Luke said, that they know what the description is and the responsibilities and duties for the position that they were selected for. And also, you're going to want to talk at that first meeting about the KAY goal and what those requirements look like. The next thing I'd like to talk about is setting goals for your KAY club, as I just mentioned. It's very, very important to make sure that your board members understand what the award is all about, and also your members, once you get them in the first general meeting, to make sure they understand that their participation will help your club achieve that award. It's very, very important that they understand this. In your handout and in your handbook in section 7, you will see information about the award system. And in the KAY program, a club can go for the red award, the blue award, or the gold award. Each requires certain things as far as attendance at conferences, participation in service activity, accumulation of points by the membership. And you can see that as you go from red to blue to gold, it gets a little more involved. In a typical year, a gold award was only attainable by those clubs that attended leadership camp. This summer, in the absence of leadership camp at Rock Springs, every club that is attending live sessions and watching these recorded sessions will have an opportunity, if they so choose, to sign up for a gold award. Another requirement for those awards, all three of them, is to meet the requirements A and B. And this is in section 7, pages 8 and 9. It's also in your handout. The first one is, what is KAY? As officers and board members, you have the fun task of coming up with some kind of an entertaining, creative way to share with your members what the KAY program is all about. It could be a game show. It could be an ice cream sundae where you have to guess certain things to get certain ingredients. It could be anything you want it to be. The sky's the limit. But that is a requirement that needs to take place first semester, and hopefully sooner the better as you start your new school year. Requirement B is new this year, and every officer and board member and sponsor will need to attend an officer board member retreat. The area sponsors felt that this was really, really important to make sure that our leadership understood their role and duties as you hit the ground running with your KAY school year. So the August board retreat that Kelly is going to talk to you about in just a moment is the agenda for this meeting. You can see some other important things here, but this needs to be done by the end of August so that when you get ready to start your year, everybody is on ground and ready to move forward. Another part of your planning is to plan a membership drive. Kelly is going to explain information about this, so I'm not going to. The only thing that I will share with you is a statement at the top. You need to get in and get out and get going. Set a date and set a time for your membership drive, and then get going with it. Get done with it, and then let's get going with our projects and activities. The length of your membership drive really sets the tone for the speed and the way that you're going to progress through activities during the year. So again, Kelly will share a few more bits of information in just a moment. And number 4 is another important part of your August board meeting, and that is to establish the activities that your KY club is going to do for the year. You need to try to decide what those are going to be and start protecting days on your calendar. That's why it's important to have your students avoid conflicts with other activities taking place. As Ashley said a few moments ago, it's very, very important to get input from your members because, as the screen clearly says, people support what they help to create. And we want the members to feel like it's their club and that they have input in the activities that your club is going to participate in. And also, I would say this, that August is a really, really important time. It will set the tone for the entire year. The way that you get in and get everybody excited as your leadership team and get your dates on the schedule and get your meetings set and hit the ground running, that's going to make a great first impression for your members. They're going to know that you people mean business, and this is going to be a fun year because you're showing that enthusiasm and that excitement and that passion. I have 2 questions I want you to think about, and I need you to think about how you would answer these. And the first one is, as a president, would you be inspired by you? If you stood up in front of yourself and could do so, would you inspire yourself? You have an opportunity as a president to inspire your members, to get them excited about wanting to do things that are of leadership and service, to remind them that they get to be with their friends and they get to have fun and they get to make a difference the whole time they're making a difference in the lives of others. The other question I want you to ask yourself is simply this: would you want to join your KAY club? If you were a student on the outside looking in, is that club the thing to be in? Are they having fun? Are they engaged? Is everybody involved? Do they all have ownership? So those are 2 key questions, and I would ask you to ask yourselves those questions as you go through the year every once in a while, especially if you start hitting a lag in things. Just go back and reevaluate.
Okay, I am sure that many of you are feeling a little overwhelmed with everything we've thrown at you so far, and that's okay. We're here to help you have a fantastic school year, and we're going to provide you with as many resources as we can to make it successful. So we're going to go briefly over what you can expect month by month and what you need to do to be ready so you and your board are not surprised. You can refer to pages 21 and 22 in your President's Session Guide for the rundown of the school year. So there's a lot here, but you'll start to see that some things happen routinely. For example, you're going to have a board and a club meeting each month. Every other month, you'll complete the leadership checklist. So let's start off with your fall season. By now, you know that your KAY club doesn't just happen. It will take some work and preparation on your part to kick off a great year. One of the very first activities we hope you'll do is meet with your sponsor and your board before school starts. Why is that important? Now is the time. You need to get moving with ideas, scheduling meetings and service activity dates, and getting your board members trained so they can carry out their jobs. You'll also need to discuss and set your KAY club goal for the year, as Cheryl mentioned. This year, as you know, we have different criteria for earning those awards, but one of the requirements for any of the awards is that you hold an officer board retreat. So let's look at August. If you look on page 16, you have a sample officer board meeting workshop agenda that can get you started. We highly suggest making this first meeting your officer board retreat, which is goal requirement B. And as a reminder, that information is on page 20. The workshop agenda provided is just a beginning place, so please modify it according to your needs. It's very important to have an agenda for every single meeting, and just to make it easier for you, your KAY handbook has one for each month. It helps to keep the group on track, on time, and it allows everyone to know what to expect and to come to the meeting prepared. So it's a good idea for you as the president to model this when you create your first board meeting agenda. And it's also helpful for you and the sponsor to work on it together so you make sure that all the topics get added. There are some great tips for this on page 29 in your guide. And as Cheryl mentioned, it's really important to have a folder or notebook made for each of your board members at this first meeting. I recommend that you have their name on it. It will serve two purposes. It helps them feel welcomed and valued, like they're part of your team. And it also is full of information that they need to perform their tasks and be the best board members that they can be. So at this first board retreat and during the first couple of months of the year, as you bring in new members, you can use the Our K Club worksheet. This is on page 24 of your guide. This is a great tool to get an idea of the strengths, skills, and interests of your board and club members. And I used this when I was a president. You can use that form to delegate specific tasks. So for example, if you need posters made, you might ask the person who says they like to do creative work. Someone who is into techie stuff might help with lights and sound at an upcoming program or something. Feel free to add some things to other if you want, if you're looking for a specific skill. Make this work for you. One of the first activities your club will do is plan and carry out a membership drive in August and September. Remember, this is sometimes done under the leadership of the vice president. And as we mentioned, this membership drive shouldn't last a long time. It shouldn't be seen as a moneymaker for your club. And dues should be reasonable and similar to other school clubs. $2 per member is sent to the High School Activities Association by October 15th. Another really great tool for you and the board is the leadership checklist. You can see this on page 24. So we suggest you complete this every other month. This is a great opportunity for your board to check yourself as a club. And for you as the president, you can get an idea on a regular basis if there are some areas where you need to refocus. For example, if you're getting a lot of no's under do we recognize and compliment others for their efforts, you will learn that you need to increase and improve appreciation in your club. Good leaders regularly ask for feedback on their performance and adjust their efforts depending on what they hear. Pro tip, the better you are at this idea of adjusting your actions as needed with these evaluations, the better your outcomes will be for your club. In November, you'll get to attend a regional conference. And I sure hope we are doing these in person by then, because we cannot wait to see you all. One of the awesome things about this conference and other activities is the opportunity to take pictures and promote the good, positive work your club is doing. Be sure to send this to your local newspaper and promote widely on social media. Also in November, along with your regular club and board meetings, you'll want to finalize plans for Citizenship Week, which is the first full week in December. So see pages 27 and 28 for more on that. This is another fabulous way to promote your club. So that kind of takes care of your fall. Let's transition to winter. The winter months are sometimes a challenge for clubs, with students losing interest, attendance dying down, and clubs feeling kind of a drag. But with your careful planning, you can avoid that by keeping your members engaged and interested. So you're going to end your semester on a high note, hopefully, with the great Citizenship Week that you've promoted and celebrated publicly. And then in January, you'll submit your first semester report to the KAY State Office by the 15th. You'll get your registrations and fees in for the unit conferences. And toward the end of January is when you'll hear more about KAY Leadership Camp and start promoting that in your clubs. Next year's camp will be legendary and you won't want to miss out. But we only have room for 285 campers, so make sure your club registers some campers. Camp attendance will also be required for the Gold Award next year. Some clubs have a fundraiser to help cover the cost of camp or partial registration. Begin setting some dates for the rest of the year if you haven't already done that. Here's where you can remotivate and engage your members. What do you have going on? What are some of the end of the year events? See page 25 for some more ideas on that. And as usual, you will continue to hold your regular club and board meetings, as well as any service projects or programs that you have planned. You'll complete that leadership checklist again in February, and you'll do this on every even numbered month, if that's easier for you to remember. Okay, we're cruising into spring now, and you've almost made it through the year, but there are still some things that need to happen. Around March, you'll want to start making plans for officer and board members for next year. So as Luke mentioned, look at pages 6 to 8 for a list of board members and their duties. Continue promoting camp attendance, and you can start registering campers online. Continue planning your end of the year celebrations and possibly a spring retreat for former and incoming board members. In April, you'll complete that leadership checklist again. Are you doing a better job in some areas? Have you been adjusting based on feedback? You'll want to hold elections for new officers and board members around this time. And then guess what? It's May. All camper registrations are due by May 1st. And this shouldn't be a problem or a shock since you've been promoting it for months. You will help your sponsor with completing all of the end of the year reports. You'll plan a smooth transition for your next president by passing the torch of that president's handbook to them. And it's a really good idea to go ahead and get the date for the post-camp preschool board meeting on the calendar ahead of time. So that's a lot, I know. Are you excited yet, thinking about all of this? It's going to be an incredible year, especially with your careful planning and preparation. Let's hear from Luke about what else it takes to be a successful president.
So Kelly's told you what your year's going to look like, but how do you be successful with that? Well, we'll give you some ideas. So you can see on the screen there, we have a handful of ideas ideas listed. If you look on page 29 and 30, I'm actually going to start on page 30 first. It talks about a survey on there. So, and you can use this anytime throughout the year. So you can see on the side of your screen there, this survey can be used for yourself. It could also be used for your board members to find out what your strengths and challenges are. You could reintroduce this in January if you guys are kind of going through a drag month and you need a little pick-me-up, and you can figure out what your club's strengths are and where those challenges are, and then reuse those to reattack as you go forward to finish out the school year. The other thing I want to talk about is on page 29, and it's talking about meeting prep for the president. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'm going to talk about an example or two on each one of these lines. So on page 29, the very first thing you want to talk about is communication. So making sure that you're talking with your sponsor. Now, remember that your sponsor has likely been in this position before, so they probably have a pretty good idea of how to construct an agenda if you have no idea. And as Kelly mentioned, in our handbook and in this handout, there's all these different templates that you can use. By all means, you don't have to use it word for word. You can modify it to fit the needs of your club. Other things that it talks about is sending reminders. So whatever means works for you. Back when I was in school, we taped them to lockers, but what might work for you is some kind of social media group that you may have built, and then you send that out as reminders for that. And then we move down to the setting for your meetings. So if you have a group of 8, which some of your clubs may only have 8 board members, some of you may have twice that many. But think about your setting. If you only have 8 people, you don't necessarily need the auditorium for that board meeting. So keep that in mind. The next thing I want to talk about is asking open-ended questions. So there where it talks about your fourth step in the meeting stuff. Asking open-ended questions helps those people get involved, and it also gets them thinking. So you are listening to their input. And then finally, down there on the bottom, during the meeting and after the meeting, you want to be taking notes. That way you can evaluate how the meeting went, things that you need to reattack, things that are upcoming, or things that you may have to reattack for the next meeting that you're going to have, or for the club meeting that you may have coming up just after this board meeting. So make sure that you're taking notes for that. It'll help your year be productive and that much more efficient. Keep in mind, communication is vital. So I'm looking at this B on that slide from previous, where communication is vital. Remember that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So make sure that you're listening to your members, your sponsors, whether those are board members or whether those are just club members. Make sure that you're hearing them out. People are going to help support what they create, as we've mentioned earlier. So be willing to take that advice, because you may not be a subject matter expert on all that stuff, and somebody may have done one of these projects or activities that your club is planning on doing. Another thing that we talked about earlier was delegation. Ashley talked about it in detail when it talks about that on your handout pages 11 and 12. And then in the delegation, as she mentioned, it's one of the hardest things to do is letting go, especially as the leader of that club, because if something doesn't go as planned, it may make you feel like the whole thing failed, and maybe it necessarily didn't. Maybe it just took a different turn that you guys weren't expecting. So using that delegation, in conjunction probably with that leadership survey that I just mentioned, if you use those in conjunction with each other, you're going to find out what your strengths are, and guess what? Where your challenges are, somebody else on your board or in your club may have those as their strengths. So when you put the 2 of you together, or a group of you together, think about what you can accomplish there. So don't be afraid to delegate. Also on those handouts, it talks about when it is a good time to delegate, when to avoid it, and why don't we delegate. So make sure if the buck gets passed to you, make sure that you're taking responsibility for that, and don't just delegate that to someone else or put the blame on someone else. So keep those things in mind when it comes to delegation. And the final thing I want to talk about there on D is leading by example. If you're walking the talk, I can think of no other way that your members are going to be inspired by you. When you are the one going out and doing, others are going to see that, and they're going to be inspired by you. They're going to want to be involved in that organization. Your actions are going to speak so much more than words. But if you want to use some words, on the bottom of that slide, it talks about some of the characteristics that we want to have. So as Cheryl mentioned earlier, she posed a question, would you be somebody that you support? And she also asked if you would want to be a member of your club. So if you want to be somebody that you would stand beside as a member of your KAY program, think about these traits that are listed here on the bottom of this slide. Kelly's going to talk to you a little bit about the handbook.
Thanks, Luke. So that handbook is your best resource for all things KAY. And all clubs have 2 handbooks, and if you don't know where they are, please see your sponsor. If you look on pages 31 and 32 of your guide, you can see all the stuff that's in this great resource. There's lots and lots in there. The handbooks are also posted online on the KAY page, but you should definitely keep a hard copy of the materials in a binder. Maybe you don't want to lug around the full handbook. You can always download it to your iPad or tablet, or have it saved on a thumb drive that you can access on your laptop. The most important thing is that you use it and that you figure out a way to access it that works best for you and your personal style. Let's hear more about the website from Ashley.
Thank you, Kelly. So this handbook is extremely valuable for your club, but another extremely valuable resource is the website, which is where you can also find the handbook. So on your slide, you see the KSHA.org. If you go to the KSHA main page and click under the non-athletic tab, it will give you some options like debate and other things in there. If you click on the KAY, it takes you to our KAY homepage. So this is an amazing resource. As you can see on the right side, you have a whole bunch of links underneath a beautiful picture of our wonderful KAY director, at the very top hand. And also on this homepage, it has a brief description of what KAY is, as well as links to the brochure, things like that. And it also has a link to how to start a club, which is very important on that front page. But if you look on the link side, you'll see when it says news and information. So if you click on that news information, it takes you to Connecting with Cheryl. And Connecting with Cheryl is our newsletter that we have that gets sent out to all of the clubs, and you can also access it online. And this just talks about what's kind of going on in the KAY world, and the closer we get to KLC Camp, the more information that's in it, which is super fun and super exciting to talk about. So we also have on the website our area presidents and sponsors, which is a great way to get to know your area president and sponsor. Since we don't have our physical KLC this year, you can definitely go on the website and see we have 6 areas in the state of Kansas, and each area has an area president as well as an area sponsor. So to go right along with the area president, area sponsors, we also have an area and tab on the website that takes you to the conferences. So every year we have regional conferences and we have unit conferences. And the website is a great place for you to find what they are, where they are, when they're taking place, and even to register. So these are really fun times. These are when all the clubs can get together in their area and things like that, to exchange ideas, to really just hold on to that passion that we have that's from camp to keep us going through the year. We also have on the tab side, for you seniors out there, we have a tab leading you to the Vinson Scholarship. So this is a great opportunity for you seniors to grab onto your KAY knowledge, your KAY passion, and put that forward into your future endeavors in your education life through a Vinson Scholarship. As going down the links, you see a spot for social media. As Kelly mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of things going on in the social media world, and this takes you right to it. So this takes you to our KAY Facebook, our KAY Instagram, also takes you to the KN Facebook and the KN website, which is our alumni network. So not only do we have a heavy social media presence, we also have a heavy social media hashtag presence. So I'm assuming all of you know what a hashtag is, but if not, this is a way for you to find other posts with the same hashtag online. So currently we are having a hashtag that is hashtag be the spark, hashtag get active, be kind. So I encourage you to go online and to look that hashtag up, and then I encourage you to share it. So show what you're doing personally, show what your club is doing, share that with that hashtag, get it out there. And it's a great way to connect all of the clubs together online. So if you keep going down that list, you see a spot, the KAY merchandise, which is my personal favorite because you can never have enough t-shirts, especially for KAY. But also in that merchandise tab is a great spot for you to find those folders that Cheryl and Kelly were talking about having for your board members and things for your club. You can find the folders there. You also have things like membership cards and little pins. If you're a graduating senior, those little KAY pins fit perfectly on your graduating lapel for when you walk down, which is what we did in high school, which was great. You can find those on that page. And you can find other things. So check out our KAY merchandise. And also this website is not only good for your club, but it's also good for your whole community. So if you want to get the word out there and you have community members asking you all about KAY, you can direct them to the website and they can find everything from there. So we're going to now throw it to Cheryl, who's going to talk about KAY being a team.
Great job, Ashley, on the website. Lots and lots of stuff there. I think you've heard, as all 4 of us have talked, that KAY is a team thing. It's everybody. It's a president can't do it themselves, nor can the sponsor. It is not your club. It is not my club. It is our club. And it takes all of us working together and doing our part to lighten the load for everyone. So we want to share some thoughts with you on 4 topics right now. And Ashley's going to talk to you about working with your sponsor.
So your sponsor is extremely valuable to your club, and they are also a great brain to pick for your club. So one of the best things you can do about working with your sponsor is to communicate with them. You need to communicate with your sponsor as often as possible. If not on a daily basis, then at least on a weekly basis. Your sponsor is so important to the working of your club, and because they're so important, they should be shown some appreciation. So not only should you appreciate them, you should show them how appreciated they are, because without them, KAY just wouldn't be as successful as a club. Now I'm going to kick that off to Luke to talk about your officers and board members.
Thanks, Ashley. So when you're working with your officers and board members, there's a couple things that I want you to keep in mind as well. So make sure that you're checking on them frequently, whether that's in KY or outside of KY, because there's times in the school year, as you guys know from this past year, there's times that you just need checked on, whether that's your mental state, your physical state, your emotional state. So make sure that you're checking on your board members frequently. Catch them in the hall, grab them after school, take them out for ice cream or a donut, something like that. Just make sure that they're doing good. Another thing to think about is use their skill sets. I mentioned earlier where your challenges and weaknesses are. Make sure that you're capitalizing on their strengths and making sure that your club can be the most successful by powering together and using those to your advantage. Another thing to think about is hold them accountable. They were elected or delegated to that position that they have as a board member. So make sure that they know what their responsibilities are and hold them to that. Throughout the year, people may get complacent or lackadaisical, and make sure that they know what they signed up for or what they raised their hand and swore in as an officer for the KAY club. And then lastly, make sure that you reward them. Just like Ashley said, making sure that your sponsor knows that they're loved and appreciated. Make sure that your members know that, or your board members know that they are loved and appreciated, especially when you reach those milestones. There's nothing better than having a successful event and making sure that that person that led that committee knows, well, and their committee members as well, know that they pulled off a great job and did an outstanding work for that activity or event that you just had. So making sure that they know they're loved is going to make them come back for different activities, whether they're in charge of it or not. Kelly?
Thanks, Luke. Let's talk about working with members. Please, please involve your members in planning. Remember, it's not your club, it's their club too, and you want to make sure it's worth their time and energy. Go back to that RK Club worksheet that we talked about and really get to know each and every one of your members. What do they like to do? What's their motivation for being involved in KAY? Don't assume people will join the club and stay in the club just because. You need to give people a reason to join and then a reason to stay. Give them ownership. Remember that people support what they help create. And as Luke said, show them love, show appreciation. Give it freely, give it publicly and privately, and mean it. During that mid-year slump, if it happens to you, give them a booster shot. Build in something that will help re-energize people. Cheryl, how about networking?
Kelly, networking is very, very important. None of us have all of the answers, and all of us will fail. We all have. And we need to make sure we call upon others with resources to help us through some of those tough times. When we get the names of all of the KAY presidents this year and their contact information, we will share that with all presidents across the state. You can reach out to those in your area, neighboring towns or communities, and seek advice from them. Because chances are, if you're having problems or challenges motivating your members, they may be having the same challenge, or they may have a great activity they've done that really has turned things around in their KAY club. Not only with presidents in KAY clubs, but your sponsor is a valuable resource and a person to network with, and your officers and board members. That's why they're there. We all have ideas, and people appreciate the fact that you would ask them their opinion about something. Again, and we can't tell you enough that KAY is a team thing. And it's very, very important that we make sure we understand as presidents, we're not in this alone. It's important to work together as a team for the betterment of our KAY club. As we move to some final thoughts of this presentation, I want to remind all of you that as the president of your KAY club, you are the CEO. And in this regard, CEO means constantly elevating others. As a president, you have a job to motivate and inspire people in your club. And the next slide will tell you a little bit more about what is your why and to share that why with others. But the thing is, it's important for you to motivate your members to be the best that you know they're capable of being. When you constantly elevate them, when you show praise, when you show attention, when you ask them to take on a responsibility and therefore are trusting them, that is doing nothing but making them the best individual they can be. And also making your club so much more productive. So again, wear that CEO badge proudly, because I can tell you right now, it will make a difference for your club this next school year. We want to talk a little bit about tips for success. Ashley, what would you say a tip for success for a president might be?
My favorite tip for success is going to be optimism. Be optimistic. One of the best ways to elevate yourself as well as your members is to find the positive and bright side in every situation. And optimism spreads, and it all starts with you.
Kelly, what about you? What's a tip for success?
So I would say don't try to be the only superhero. While you have a tremendous responsibility as the president, you also have a really capable team of people around you who can and should share the load. So delegate, share responsibility, and involve other people.
And Luke, what's your tip for success?
My tip for success would be to expect challenges. Look at the past year, this past school year, and look at what has happened just within that last school year. So expect challenges.
Time management tips. Luke, we'll stay with you. What's a good time management tip that you would like to pass on?
One of the biggest things that I want you to consider is if it's consuming a lot of your time, is it worth what you're putting in?
Very good. Kelly, what about you?
So I would say that you're all busy, productive people, and I know you have more going on in your lives than just KAY. So I think about time management when I'm weeding my flower bed. When there's a ton of weeds and I'm sweating and my back hurts from digging all of them up, I'm thinking about how easy it would have been if I went out every night and weeded a little bit. So my tip is that if you carve out designated times every day to work on various areas of your life, that is very helpful. So limit your screen time so that you can make that happen. And if you do a little bit every day on each area, it's not so overwhelming.
Very good. Ashley, what about you?
So both of those are amazing time management tips. And one of the things you can do to help do both of those management tips is to make a list and get a calendar. Whether that's a digital calendar, an electronic calendar, a physical calendar, something. Make a calendar and so you can see everything in front of you and effectively plan.
Kelly, what's the best advice you ever received?
Oh, I hear as you go, so goes your club. So this was something that Wanda Mae Vinson, our founder, said, and I've never stopped thinking about it. As a leader, you set the tone, you set the vision for the club. So when you get frustrated, and you will, take a look at yourself and ask yourself if there's anything that you can be doing to improve as a leader.
Luke, what about you? What's the best advice you ever received?
Don't be afraid to accept help. Like, you don't have to do it all. Goes back to that delegation. Make sure that you're giving away the things that you don't necessarily have to lead, but you can still be a part of.
Great. And Ashley, how about you?
So honestly, this one was hard for me to come up because through KAY, I've had the best advice of my life. If it wasn't for KAY, I wouldn't be who I am today. My favorite one I ever received was that work made fun gets done. So this promotes teamwork and it also promotes involvement. And we talked a lot about getting your members involved, but also remember to get yourself involved, but not too involved. So one way to do that is to just have a little fun with everything, and work made fun gets done.
Great, great tips. Thank you all for your sharing. The last page of your handout is identifies some goals for you. We have goals for you as a club president and goals for your K club. And there are 4 things identified, but you'll notice there are some boxes for you to add some other things. It's very, very important for you to sit down and think about your year as a president. What is it you want to accomplish as a person individually? I know I hear students tell me that they're scared to death to get up and talk in front of their peers, and so they want to have a better comfort level for being able to do that. People that aren't necessarily punctual want to try to be more on time. It can be simple things like that. It doesn't have to be anything any bigger, or it could be. Goals for your KAY club. If your club has had tremendous success in the past, we're going to continue to go along that way and try to do even better. And on the flip side, if your club has kind of had some challenges in the past, what can we do to gradually work our way back up to where we think we're able to be? So it's very, very important to set goals and to go back and add to this list as you go through the year. And also to look back at the end of the year and see, did we accomplish these goals as we hoped we would, or did I, and our club for that matter. So again, very, very important to make sure you set the goals. As we end this session today, I want you just to think real quickly about what your why is. We all do things for a variety of reasons. Sometimes we don't know why, but sometimes we do know, but we just don't think about it. So I want you to think about these questions. Why did you join the KAY club? You know, maybe as a freshman, you joined because everybody else did, or your bigger sister or brother joined, or they always did fun things, or whatever the list might have been or the reason might have been. The next question is, then why did you join the next year, and the next year, and the next year? You need to think about why you do what you do. Why are you the president of your KAY club? Sure, you got more votes than the other person, but you also put your name up or accepted the nomination to be that president. Why did you want to be the president of your club? And what about service? Why do we do service? And why do you keep being involved in service? You obviously are by joining this club. And the same is true for leadership. Why do we need good leaders? And why do you keep leading and making a difference? I need you to all stop and remember that you are here by choice, that you didn't have to join your KAY program. You're here because you wanted to be here. And that's why it's important to understand your why. People, I love this statement, people don't buy into what you have or what you do, but your members are going to buy into what you believe and why you do what you do. Find that passion, model that passion, and that's going to make a difference in the lives of your members and certainly in the pulse of your club as you move forward. In KAY, remember, you don't have to do anything. You get to do everything. And as Ashley said a moment ago, work made fun gets done. You get to be with your friends, you get to make a difference, and you get to have the time of your life. And that's what being in middle school and high school is all about. Making memories and making a difference as well. We all know from being presidents, it's not the position that makes the leader, it's the leader that makes the position. And you're going to do a fine job of being the president of your club. Sure, there are going to be some hiccups. Sure, there are going to be some bumps in the road. That's life. And you're going to persevere, and you're going to pick yourself up, and you're going to move forward. We hope that this handout and that we provided, and we hope this PowerPoint and this presentation are going to be helpful guides for you as you proceed on this journey of leadership and service as the president of your KAY club. I can tell you right now, it's going to be an exciting year, and we wish you all the best. We're excited for you. We're happy for you. We all remember how excited we were as the presidents of our club, and we hope you will have the same excitement and passion and vision and memory-making experiences that we did. So, on behalf of Luke and Ashley and Kelly and I, we want you to remember that as you go, so goes the club. Best wishes for a super fantastic year.